Hello everyone, this is Seven here, and today we will be looking at the high-grade Gundam Barbatos Lupus from the high-grade Iron Blooded Orphans line. Now this kit is number 21 in the Iron Blooded Orphans line, which is the successor to the high-grade Gundam Barbatos 6th form. Was that the 20th one? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Either way, let's just talk about the kit itself. Now, the Gundam Barbatos Lupus is the mobile suit of the main character of the Iron Blooded Orphans series, also known as Mikazuki Ogas, or Mikazuki Ogas in pronunciation of the characters in the anime, but I just call him Mikazuki, because why not? It's the world. Now, as you know, or may not know, Iron Blooded Orphans recently ended. For us, it was only about 2 months ago. Actually, I think it was April that ended it. I don't know. But the whole series ended at episode 50, which is the regular ending for Modern Gundam series, which is end at 50 episodes. But the ending of the Iron Blooded Orphans series was kind of a bittersweet ending. You'll find out if you watch the whole series. Please don't start at episode 50. Start at episode 1. You won't be able to feel the same things I felt when the series ended as a whole. But no one came here for the tears and the feels. You guys came here for the model kit, right? Right? The sculpting on this kit is amazing, actually. It's almost in line with the animation line art. Since, well, this thing was meant to be based on the Gundam Barbatos Lupus in the anime, but I'll just put a side by side here so that you can tell whether it's a good comparison or not. I'll just post it alongside the line art I'll see. So now we've compared the mobile suit to the gunpla itself. Let's talk about the sculpting. The painting on this kit, which is non-existent, but the sculpting is actually pretty good, which I already talked about. Now, there's not a lot of things to do when you need to put this up to anime accuracy, since, well, it's already on anime accurate. If you're not going to use the stickers, you could paint in this part, which is the booster, and the parts on the side boots, or the side skirt boosters. You could also paint in this part on the heel, which is red, and which I actually just painted in for some reason, but the paint wore off since I was using really crappy Chinese paint. But overall, there's really not a lot to do here. Everything else is just personal preference to you. That is the reason why it's called personal preference, right? The only thing I really did here is actual personal preference. I applied some decals which don't belong to the kit itself. It actually belongs to the Master Grade Gundam Mark II. I don't know which version, but hey, I used it. Now, I should have used that on the Gundam Mark II Revive I have. Check out that video if you would, please. But since I was ignorant at the time, and I didn't actually own the Mark II back then, I just applied the decal straight away. The results were horrible. Really, really bad. And as you can see here, that one water slide there, that thing actually flaked off over time. Now, I did apply it correctly using some water. That is why it's called water slides anyway. But over time, it would actually flake off. Now, I do recommend that you top coat it, since, well, if you want the decals to stay on, or rather, you can actually just use a mark setter. If not mark setter, mark softer. I don't know. I haven't used any of those in a while. Not in a while. I actually haven't used any of them. However, I do recommend that you try to top coat it. But before you top coat, paneling first. After paneling, you can now go and top coat that freaking thing. Now, this model kit has I think about only a few gimmicks on its sleeve, or up its sleeve. The first one is actually the moving shoulder plate here. If you just wedge that out, there's actually some joints there, which will allow you to move it down and move it up. You can also push it back in if you need to, since that is, after all, the reason that it's made. The only other backpack that is pretty much mandatory for IBO kits is the booster that can move up and down. And while we're speaking of gimmicks that can move, let's talk about the posability, which is kind of good on the Barbatos Lupus, but it's not great. The head is on a ball joint, which will allow you to have a full 60-degree rotate. I am only doing this with one hand. You can look up pretty far and down not as far. The torso has a hinge that can let go up and down, and there's a ball joint at the base of the body, which will allow it to go forward and back, shift left and right, and can rotate, which is pretty much the mandatory thing for Gunpla as of current. You can move this out, but before we move that out, oh, I thought I actually broke something. We gotta move that out first, which I already told you the articulation of. You can there's actually 3 joints here: a swing out polycap, a ball joint inside there, and this joint, which is the Gundam frame joint. I'll show you the frame when we get to the accessories. It can go out, it can go back, it can rotate, full rotation, and that's pretty much it for the ball joint. There's a double jointed elbow, which can go pretty far for a... Actually, it's not a double joint, it's a single joint, which can go pretty far. And a ball joint. Moving on to the waist area, there's actually a... what was I gonna say? Yeah. Front skirts move up, side skirts move out, not that far since they're pretty big. And don't even get me started on the back skirts, it's only one piece. But you're not gonna need to move that since you don't see the back of a Gundam most of the time. You're only gonna see the back of it, and it's either flying or launching out of a catapult in a ship. Those are the only 2 times that you'll see the mobile suit's back, more specifically the back plate. Moving on to the legs, once I connect this part to the shoulder, the leg can move up not that far since it's being hindered by something in there. I'll just show you a picture sometime soon. And you can, there's a double knee, which can go not as far as I would like. A toe bend forward and down, moving feet armor, rotation at the foot, and the super pivot, pretty much. Posability on this guy is, like I said before, good but not great. It'll leave a real lot to be desired. Let's get on to the accessories. The only accessory I'm going to be talking about is the sword mace, which is the only kind of thing that the Barbatos will actually use, as the sub-arms on the backpack and the connection ports and the extra hands, they're not going to be needed, as you're going to be displaying this guy wielding the sword mace. I mean, why does he come with a sword mace if he's not going to hold it? And the sword mace, I'll show you how it connects later on, but for now, let me show the inner frame first. I'm only going to show the inner frame of the arms, since it's already hard enough to remove the inner frame of the leg and most of the body. Now, there is the inner frame of the arm, which is pretty much a basic inner frame arm, or arm inner frame, however you're going to say it. The articulation doesn't improve here. The only difference is going to be it's going to bend the impossible and bend negatively. That must hurt, really. So, what I'm curious about is how well the Gundam frame's arm will be able to hold up the sword mace on its own. Here is the Gundam hand. You take the sword mace and you just connect that. There you go. And now we connect it to the Barbatos. So far, it's holding in pretty good. It's got a solid connection to it. Yeah, it's pretty solid. Other than that, when it's holding, it's kind of janky. And now for the conclusion. The kit is the kit could have been good, but the kit is actually good, but it could have been better compared to the rock solid Gundam Floros, the review on Thursday. In which case, this guy is pretty much built like a brick. There's not gonna be any loose parts sometime soon, although mine is already loose. Don't worry about that, I'm just gonna tighten that up with some good drips of super glue. But other than that, this guy is really solid. But compared to this thing, the Region is kind of the successor to the Barbatos Lupus. The joints are really loose, some parts will fall off easily, and it's a kit that I absolutely despise. But I think you can just fix it with a few super glue drips or drops. I don't know what the term of it is. But this has been Seven with a review of the high-grade Gundam Barbatos Lupus from the high-grade Iron Blooded Orphans line. And I'll see you all in the next review. Bye-bye!